like in this museum. So definitely I would be protected, but this would be very, very unpractical, and I could not go around surrounded by such an armor or such a shield. So it's unpractical, it's just for demonstration. And it is because of this that I developed an inner shield, an inner armor. That is the product that is called Presidium, that is the result of the research. Since I cannot have an outer shield, or it is unpractical, then let's see if I can have an inner shield that protects myself from the harmful effects of the electromagnetic fields that surround me. I published these results in a peer-reviewed article that was published in a rather prestigious journal, the American Journal of Immunology, this year in 2021. And as I wrote, these results lay the foundation for the development of a novel approach to protection against electromagnetic fields, including ionizing and non-ionizing radiations. And in silico observation and preliminary results on subjects exposed to common EMFs under real-life conditions support the hypothesis that co-cultures of radiation-resistant cyanobacterium probiotics, and I will explain right now what they are, may confer protection against the harmful effects of EMFs. So this inner shield is made of 4 elements. I found this like the old alchemists who thought about these 4 elements of everything. The 4 elements of the presidium of this inner shield are the following. First element, Arthrospira platensis, or spirulina. This is a cyanobacterium, and I will explain what cyanobacterium means. That is intrinsically extremely resistant to all types of radiations, ionizing, non-ionizing radiations. Just to give you an example, the dose calculated from people exposed to the nuclear blast in Nagasaki, Japan at the end of World War II is that the lethal dose for humans is around 3 grays. Grays are units of measurement of ionizing radiations. So we as humans are killed by 3 grays of gamma rays. These bacteria are resistant up to 6,400 grays. That is, they are 2,000 times more resistant to gamma rays than we as humans. So they are extremely resistant to radiations. As a matter of fact, this is not something that I discovered. As a matter of fact, spirulina is used by NASA for nutrition of astronauts, not only because it is a so-called superfood, which is good in and for itself, but also because astronauts, they are exposed to a number of radiations coming from space, from the sun and elsewhere, because they are not protected by the atmosphere. So this property, this peculiarity of the Arthrospira is so well known that it is used as food for astronauts, and it is also used to prevent and treat radiation sickness. Radiation sickness is that disease that occurs when you are exposed to huge doses of radiations, like, for example, if you are a fireman working at Fukushima or Chernobyl or other accidents like that, then you develop radiation sickness, and it is known that spirulina can mitigate the effects of radiation sickness. I chose spirulina not only because of its intrinsic resistance to radiations, but also because it is capable of photosynthetic activity, like plants. So it is able to capture the light. Light is nothing else than EMF coming from the sun and transform it into biochemical energy, exactly as plants do. So it is a photosynthetic bacterium. And what's interesting and what's quite peculiar to this product of ours is that the spirulina is able to capture the light coming from the Cherenkov radiation. What is the Cherenkov radiation? Well, the Cherenkov radiation is a rather old observation by a scientist from Russia called Cherenkov, who observed that when a charged particle moves faster than light, there is a bluish light that is emitted. Now, we all know, since the theory of relativity that is more than 100 years old, that nothing can go faster than light. unless time reverses, unless or time goes backward. And this is absolutely true, at least until now it has been proven true, if we're talking about the speed of light in a vacuum. But in a medium like water, many things they can go faster than light. And when they go faster than light, the equivalent of a sonic boom of supersonic planes occurs. And so the equivalent of this sonic boom is the emission of this bluish light that is the Cherenkov radiation. Well, that's interesting that the atrospira or spirulina is able to pick up this Cherenkov radiation as a source of light to induce photosynthesis. So essentially we grow the spirulina in a particular medium, a particular water that will be described later, where we have naturally occurring Cherenkov radiation. And this naturally occurring Cherenkov radiation induces photosynthesis in the spirulina. Well, now things have become quite interesting because photosynthesis is a quantum phenomenon. In other words, quantum physics does not apply only to the world of small particles that are somehow disconnected from our daily life. No, quantum physics occurs in biology and medicine. As a matter of fact, there are now branches of quantum biology and quantum medicine. And enzymes, they work through quantum biology, olfaction, photosynthesis, magnetodetection, that is the so-called avian compass, the way birds, they find their way home. So all these things, including photosynthesis, they're based on quantum phenomena, up to the point that in the journal Scientific American, there was an article entitled, ironically, Schrödinger's bacterium. It used to be Schrödinger's cat, that thanks to the mysteries of quantum physics, it is alive and dead at the same moment, but now it is Schrödinger's bacterium, because it has been demonstrated that light, photons, so electromagnetic fields, and bacteria can become entangled, just as Schrödinger had predicted as far as the cat was concerned. So now we have a phenomenon of quantum entanglement between the EMFs, the spirulina, thanks to the Cherenkov radiation that is naturally occurring in this special water that we use to grow the microbes, and thanks to the photosynthesis that is a quantum phenomenon. And here comes the second element, a proprietary, peculiar probiotic blend that we have developed in Switzerland for the past 10 or so years. So we have a probiotic blend that is co-cultured, that is cultured together with the spirulina in this water where we have naturally occurring Cherenkov radiation. This probiotic blend is rather unique. So it is not a common kefir or a common yogurt. It is something much more, because it has a powerful detoxifying effect that has been demonstrated in a number of peer-reviewed scientific articles. These are the scientific articles where it has been demonstrated this powerful detoxifying effect, and it is helpful in detoxifying the body from glyphosate, perchlorate, cadmium, lead, barium, a number of toxicants, both hydrophobic and hydrophilic, both metal and non-metal. You may wonder, what has this to do with EMFs? Well, it has a lot to do, because toxicants like arsenic, for example, or cadmium, or lead, or barium, and radiations, they induce exactly the same identical damage. That is formation of reactive oxygen species and therefore oxidative stress. And it is the oxidative stress, or the ROS, reactive oxygen species, that cause the damage to DNA. So essentially the detox mechanism that is effective against toxicants like metals or non-metals is effective also against the harmful effects exerted by EMFs, both ionizing and non-ionizing radiations. Again, arsenic or X-rays at the cellular level, they induce the same type of damage, formation of reactive oxygen species. So if you have something that it is able to detoxify from one element, arsenic, it will be also helpful in detoxifying from the damage inflicted by ionizing or non-ionizing radiations. But this blend is also unique because it is extremely biodiverse. It has more than 300 different microbial DNA sequences, including microbes, of course, probiotics, it is a probiotic, but also bacteriophages or phages that are viruses of the microbes, and plasmids that are circular DNA elements that transfer the information from one microbe to the other. Also, this has been published in peer-reviewed articles that you can download if you're interested. And you can find in this article this long list of more than 300 different strains. But here I wish to focus your attention on a particular phage that is called Lactococcus phage UL36 and its friends, its brothers, so to call the Ki and the KITL. Why? Because this phage codes for a protein that is called SAC. Now, this SAC protein is a homologous, that means very, very similar, to a human recombination protein that is called RAD52. RAD stands for radiation, because this human protein of ours helps us repairing or minimizing the effects of radiations, because it has a crucial role in DNA repair, DNA stability, and prevention of cancer. And such an homology is present at the amino acid, phylogenetic, functional, and structural levels. And actually, the viral protein comes before the human protein. So our protein, it is just an evolution of the viral protein. So here we're talking about a virus that codes for a protein that is homologous to a protein of ours that protect ourselves against the harm inflicted by radiations. When I say radiations, I imply ionizing radiations such as X or gamma rays, but also EMFs. They are radiations as well. Now, let me talk briefly of the mechanism of entanglement and transfer of radiation resistance between the Arthrospira, that is radiation resistant by itself, the Lactococcus, the phages, and the human cells. Now, I know that these are very complex topics, might take hours, should take hours to explain them in detail. So, and of course, we don't have hours today, but all this has been published in rather plain English, at least as far as my English is concerned, in these articles that you can download for free. And again, if you don't want to take notes, just ask Mr. Pinault and I can send him the articles. They're downloadable for free, where I describe how the transfer of information occurs, both at the biochemical, let's say traditional, and the quantum level. Just to give you an idea, in this product of ours, the entanglement occurs between the electron clouds of amino acid sequences that share a significant degree of similarity, with particular reference to hydrophobic residues, because quantum entanglement and transfer of resistance to radiation between living organisms occurs in water. So this is the way we demonstrate these things. So these are the sequences of some proteins involved in the DNA repair, in this case, repair of the damage inflicted by ultraviolet radiations. And here we compare the sequences of the Arthrospira, the Lactococcus, the human, and the viral proteins. And we find the degree of similarity, the hydrophobic residues. It is becoming very complex. What I'm saying is that there is very solid science behind all this. And if you're interested, you can go and look directly at the source and you will find out how this entanglement occurs. Now, I wish to highlight that quantum entanglement and transfer of resistance to radiation between living organisms occurs in water. These are not my words. These words come from an article published by Mathersill and colleagues from Canada in 2018. And this leads us to the third element, water. A very peculiar, very particular type of water that has been known since antiquity, but let me describe it. But first of all, let me go for a minute back to this article by Mathersill and colleagues that was published in 2018. They demonstrate how resistance to radiations, in their case X-rays, could be transferred between living organisms, in that case, fish. They studied two different types of fish. The zebrafish, that is a very small fish, widely used in genetic research because everything about their DNA is known, and the rainbow trout, a big fish trout, like the trout you eat at the restaurant. And in both cases, the fish were exposed to X-rays, and they were able to transfer the information to the fish that were not exposed. And that's quite interesting, through quantum phenomena that implied going back in time. I know this sounds rather crazy, because to go back in time is a topic of science fiction movies and books, but actually this is published in PubMed. You can find it in the US National Library of Medicine. And I recommend you take a look at this article because it's truly fascinating. If you don't want to take a look at the article that is fascinating, but it is written in a rather scientific jargon, then you can spend 1 hour of your precious time and go to this YouTube presentation of mine that I gave 3 years ago, talking about relativistic time dilation, going back in time, biological quantum entanglement as they relate to health and disease. I was saying that all this occurs in water, and this particular water coming from a very particular source where naturally Cherenkov radiation occurs, that is where particles are moving faster than light, is one of the peculiarity, one of the keys to this product. As a matter of fact, this source was known for centuries. Leonardo da Vinci visited the source to sample the town's miraculous water, as it was called in those days. And unless you have access to this source, do not try this at home because it will not work. If you simply put some spirulina and some kefir grains in water and you expect that it do something, unfortunately, you won't be able to reproduce this entanglement because it only occurs in this type of water. So this type of water is truly one of the keys, one of the peculiarities of this approach of this product. You want to know the details of this water? They're not a secret. They're published in those articles that I just mentioned. And then the fourth element. The fourth element is called Equisetum arvense, or horsetail. Now, the Equisetum arvense is used in this product for a number of reasons. First of all, it contains a number of health-supporting molecules. They are called flavonoids, alkaloids, phytosterols, tannins, triterpenoids, and they all have a number of beneficial effects because they have an antioxidant. And again, I say that the damage exerted by radiations is a true oxidative stress. They have anti-inflammatory, antibacterial, antifungal, blood vessel relaxant, and neuro and cardioprotective, anti-proliferative properties. So the Equisetum arvense is a good nutrient in and for itself, but we don't use it for this purpose because of these features, but we use it because it contains vegetal silica. Because it is a perennial plant that has survived the two mass extinctions on Earth, the one that killed the dinosaurs, but also the previous one that was much, much worse for life on Earth. And the Equisetum has survived. And one of the keys to its survival, it is the high content of silica. Why? Because silica stabilizes DNA. Once a DNA is bound to silica, it can survive for thousands, if not tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of years. As a matter of fact, it is believed that binding of primitive nucleic acids, in that case, kind of RNAs, to silica was the key for the evolution of life on this earth. In any case, the silica in the Equisetum is useful, serves the purpose of stabilizing DNA and also to transfer the information between the microbial cells and the human cells.